Hey everyone, it's James here. I've got an interesting project today. I picked up a used set of winter tires that came mounted on BMW rims. As you can see, they're quite scuffed up, and the previous owner had little regard for staying clear of the curb. So I'm going to spray these with a product called Protect Dip, which is a coating that goes on just like spray paint with a bit of a dull finish, and it peels right off if you ever want to remove it without damaging the original finish. That being said, it's definitely durable enough to put up with everyday use on the roads. So I'll walk you through the step-by-step process to refinish wheels with this, and hopefully it turns out great. First step is to clean them up and remove everything from the surface that we're going to paint. All right, step one is to get the wheels all cleaned up. Pretty straightforward, just a little bit of elbow grease and some good cleaning products. I used a little bit of dish soap and a fairly abrasive sponge and just scrubbed them down as best that I could, making sure that I got all of the grime off the surface that I'm going to paint. Now these did have quite a bit of tar on them, so I used some bug and tar remover that I had and eventually worked my way up to brake cleaner to get all of it off. Now, once you have the wheels nice and spotless, you can move on to masking them off. All right, so we've got the rims all clean now, and we've gone over them with a dry cloth to make sure we get any remaining moisture off of them and any dust that might have settled. And we've also masked up the tire as well so that we keep any overspray contained from getting on the tire. And a couple of other things that we've done, we've cut out a cardboard circle and placed it in behind the rim to keep any overspray off of the inside of the rim as best we can. And I've also put masking tape around the hub to keep the coating off of where the hub meets the wheel itself. The first coat's going on quite thin, just a nice even coat across the whole surface of the wheel and going around the entire wheel to make sure that all of the edges are nice and covered. For the second, third, and fourth coats, I'm starting to put it on a little bit thicker, just enough to make sure that I can't really see any of the original color underneath the coating. I'm also making sure that I go up and down the sides of each of the spokes and in between each of the spokes to make sure that I get a full coverage in those spots. They tend to be a little bit of a trickier area, so definitely take your time. You don't want to put it on too thick, otherwise the paint will start to run in those spots, but you definitely want to get them covered. The nice thing with Protect Dip is that it's fairly forgiving, so even if you're a little bit light in spots or heavier in others, it seems to not affect the final coating too much. So just do your best to get it into each of these trickier areas. Just a couple of general tips while you're doing this. Make sure that before you start, you shake the can really well, at least for a couple of minutes to make sure the contents are very well mixed. And make sure you keep shaking it intermittently while you're spraying as well. The second tip is ideally you want to spray these somewhere where you won't get much of a breeze, ideally indoors and in a relatively warm temperature. As you can obviously see, I'm outside, which certainly wouldn't be my first choice, but at least it's a relatively calm and warm day, so I think they should turn out fairly well. While you put the last coat down, you want to make sure it goes on as even as possible to avoid too much texture, but not too heavy that you get a run in the paint. So now we have the paint on all four wheels and it's had a few minutes to dry. Now we can take off all of our masking, which obviously is quite straightforward. The only thing that you want to take your time with is getting the tape off right at the edges of the wheel. What can happen is that the coating will sometimes bridge seamlessly between the wheel and the tape. So if you pull it off too quickly, you might start to take the coating right off the wheel, which is not the look we're going for. So I'd recommend using something like a razor to just break the coating wherever it looks like it's sealed. But that being said, you shouldn't need to actually cut all the way around the wheel. It should break naturally for the most part. I honestly could not be any happier with how these turned out, and more importantly, just how easy this was to do. They literally made this stuff foolproof. All in, this took me roughly 3 hours to do, as I just cycled through all four wheels, doing 4 coats on each and about 15 minutes between each coat. Now that they're all done, you want to let these cure for at least 5 hours, but I'll let them sit overnight before I go and put them on the car. And that's it. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you found it helpful, and definitely keep an eye out for the next project. Thanks, everyone.